So, 7 a.m., good morning. Welcome to Morning Mobility. We're going to do something a little different today. We're going to be mobilizing a chair and using a chair today. So if you have one, take a second and go grab that. Of course, one without wheels. Arms optional. All right. I don't think we need anything with those, but today we're going to start off in the chair, kind of sitting towards the edge of your chair. Make sure nice good grip there. You're not sliding the chair backwards or anything either. We're going to start with a nice figure 4 stretch. So the reason I wanted to use the chair today is kind of to show everyone when you're sitting at your desk for long periods of time, you can still stretch seated, or if you're like on a trying to call or something and need some quick stretches, or I don't know, wherever else you're sitting in a chair, you can utilize it. So this is one of the easiest ones, a figure 4 stretch. So we're just going to take one ankle, put that over our knee, and we're going to kind of push down our knee and lift up on our ankle just a little bit, and should feel this kind of through your hip. So just working to open up that hip. We're going to kind of progress a little bit deeper into each of these stretches as well. So if you're not super mobile to start with, don't you worry, we will soon get there. So a couple of different things we can add into this one is a lean. We can take that torso a little bit forward, kind of deepen that stretch, just kind of increase the pressure pushing down on that knee. Obviously, I don't want to just kind of like super torsion on it, but just a little bit of pressure just to work to stretch out again, kind of inside of that hip. And we can also turn that torso away, again, just to deepen that stretch. So we'll hang out here about 15-20 seconds. You know me, on Tuesday mornings, we like to start a little bit easier and kind of work our way up. So, figured a nice seated position in the chair was about as easy as we could get to start off with. Alright, and then I'm going to pull that around, switching to the other side. You can kind of change that lever a little bit depending on where your ankle crosses, and the more towards the bottom of your foot. A little longer lever arm, a little bit more tension we can put in there. Depending on how tight your hips are, you may need to adjust that a little bit shorter or a little bit longer. Don't always need to play to the highest level. Sometimes we just work our way up and kind of meet your body where it's at in the morning. So big focus today, as with our usual morning mobility, just kind of ease your way into it. Try not to force yourself into any positions. Think about kind of melting into a position deeper and deeper. Any tension you're holding in that muscle group that we're working on, just working to slowly release that. It's a great way to kind of learn that minute control over those little muscles and those little muscle groups. So I'll hang here again just another second or so. And we'll come up out of that. Do a little hamstring stretch here, so taking one leg, putting that heel to the ground. A couple different options. You can do more of a sit and reach style, or we'll do a little bit more dynamic as well. If you've done a hamstring scoop stretch, we've done these kind of in a locomotive motion. But basically you have a pretend towel between your two hands. That's going to be underneath your leg. And you're trying to scoop that towel down and under your heel. Alright, so basically just kind of running along the backside of your leg there. We're going to try to return to kind of a nice and tall seated position, and then hinging down again. So a great way just to work a little bit more dynamic in that stretch. Would recommend kind of the first few times going a little bit more slowly. Just kind of feel your way through that range of motion. We really want to try to avoid quick, jerky movements first thing in the morning. So nice and slowly. We're just staying all on one side right now. Just hinging down, sweeping along that leg. I don't know if you all saw that video going around. That's like the retirement home. They're like drumming on the stability ball. That was like a fitness class. I thought about doing that this morning. I don't have a stability ball though. Let's go ahead and switch sides. Same deal. Nice slow hinge. Hopefully you can really feel the difference when you kind of go to the other leg, and you feel how mobile you were on the first leg and how stiff you were on the second leg. We're just going to work to try to even these two up. So I want you to really focus on keeping that leg straight, all right? Well, a lot of us in that very competitive nature, we're like, oh, I want to get huge mobility, so I'm going to sacrifice my form and my knee angle and everything to get that full range of motion. But no, your full range of motion is very specific to where you are just that day, really. So certainly will change day to day. And why don't we just focus on improving where we are instead of trying to be the best at it. All right, just you against yourself. I'm going to go about 2 more scoops here. Get a little thoracic mobility here as well, reaching those arms out. All right. So we're going to stand up a little bit. I'm going to move my chair. We're going to do a little bit more hip stretch here. I don't really have a name for this one. It's just going to be like a lateral leg extension. So basically, you're going to put your foot up on this. We're not going to do it, but you could also do that hamstring scoop like this. But we're going to go sideways and put that leg up there. So the toes, all your toes are going forward. And it's going to be kind of a what we call it, your adductor stretch, okay? So think about kind of like a lateral lunge, but just going to be elevated. We can drop this knee down a little bit, get a little quad activation in there, but just focus on stretching kind of inside. This one's a little bit more passive stretch than we normally do here, more morning mobility, but certainly an angle that we don't normally get. So a few different options here as well. Depending on your height of your chair, it's going to be kind of dependent on the depth of the stretch. Sometimes if we're a little bit taller, this may not do as much. So let's really focus on kind of dropping that lead leg. What we do want to avoid though is sitting those hips back, all right? Kind of takes away that stretch from the inside of that adductor there. So I want to focus on standing tall and just dropping down. You can also, if you have yoga blocks, you can put those under your foot to lift that leg up a little bit higher. Or again, depending on your height, you can put down a pad and kneel on this as well if you got a very high sitting hip, right? If you're very tall. So we're just gonna kind of hang in here. I am kind of gradually sinking in deeper. Certainly feel that loosening up very, very much. We want you to focus on bringing those hips forward, kind of thinking about pushing those hips forward as you do at the end of a deadlift or a good morning or a hip hinge, anything like that. So we're standing up nice and tall, able to get that full range of motion in that hip. So next week we will be doing side splits, so this is a great stretch for that. Just kidding. All right, I'm going to flip that chair all the way around. We're going to do the other leg. So again, another great way to kind of find that difference between those two hips is this stretch right here. So you can kind of feel where that end range of motion is to start with, and then we'll kind of gradually sink down as we hold this position. I really like the stretch. I really like the stretches where it's like really passive. You can kind of just put your leg up or put your arm up and let gravity do the work. They have their place, for sure. All right. Hang out here for about another 20 seconds. It's always a great way to start the morning. Nice and calm, just stretching. All right, we'll will come up out of that. So next, we're going to drop down to the ground for a couple stretches, still using the chair. We're going to do everybody's favorite, here at Exos we call our cholesterol stretch, but just a good pec stretch. You're going to put your forearm against the edge of your chair, all right? And you're going to be kind of hinged down. So a couple different ways you can go about this one. Sometimes you can take that other hand to the opposite side. Basically kind of like a thread the needle situation. You're going to reach that elbow up underneath and you're going to rotate that out. So a good kind of thoracic mobility exercise here. I'm just going to go a few rounds, opening up that spinal twist range of motion. And kind of leading with that elbow, that hand on the chair. It's really just kind of a nice anchor point. Making sure again that we're not compensating coming up out of that stretch anywhere extra. We're gonna go one more this side. All right, then we'll switch over. And go to the other side. I was thinking if I could give you a little different angle. We'll go a little 45 degrees here. So forearm on the edge of the chair, right? Hand behind the head. Make sure that we're not pulling on that head. I want you to think about keeping a very wide angle, that elbow going straight out. All right. So when we're kind of nice and neutral, we're very flat across. We're gonna reach up under and open it up. So we are just looking to kind of open up that chest. And we're getting a nice little pec stretch at the same time with that arm on the chair. And it's our upper mobility for today. A little bit of workout, getting a little warm. We got a few more here. Let's go 2 more. All right, come up out of that. So we're gonna do one more for our upper mobility here. So we call a front rack stretch. So typically if you ever do like front squats or like cleans, we're in this front rack position with a barbell. Even with kettlebells, sometimes we don't always have the mobility to get our elbows up as high as we'd like. So this is a great stretch to do before that, or just, through the day. So still in that kneeling position, I'm going to do one arm at a time here and then we'll do both. But basically the kind of very end of your elbow, you're going to stick on the edge of your chair. So again, make sure you're not pushing that chair away. We're going to line that chest up right with the mat. And we're just going to kind of reach to really kind of put your face to the ground. I'm going to try to get that elbow up over your head. And then again, just a little bit of a passive stretch. Just kind of hanging out. So we're going to hold this for about 10-15 seconds per side, and then we'll hold a little bit longer with both arms together. Let's come up out of that. Let's go to that other arm. So your arm's going to want to tend to kind of internally rotate. All right, I want you to do your best to kind of keep those fingers up towards the sky and try to avoid that rotation. And we'll come up out of that. And we're going to do both hands here. So sometimes your upper arm may be a little bit short, but I have confidence that she can get there. You may have to do one arm and then get the other arm up there, but we're going to get both elbows up there, dropping that head up underneath, and we're just going to hang out here. So the nice thing about going both arms is that you kind of have that block for your internal rotation. Those hands kind of come together. If you want to, you can push those fingers against each other, create that external rotation, a little deeper stretch in there. Be careful not to overdo it. Kind of feel that tension and let it melt. And here about another 10 seconds. And we'll come up by that. Nice and easy. Thoracic mobility feels good, right? Nice and open. All right, while we're down on the ground, we're gonna go one last stretch here. It's gonna be our lovely couch stretch. If you do have a pillow, you may need if you have can't put too much pressure on your knee. So what we're gonna do with this one, typically we kind of do like our half kneeling hip flexor stretch here. We're just gonna make that a little bit more dramatic by putting that foot up on that chair and getting into, like I said, our couch stretch, or today it's gonna be our chair stretch. So goal here is just to, again, get that hip open. Trying to make a good straight line from that knee through that hip to that shoulder. All right, so try not to sit back at all, but rather driving those hips forward. Should feel a nice, good, deep stretch through that hip flexor, and good chance you'll get some through that quad as well, if those have a little tightness. So we're basically just gonna run out the clock here. We're gonna do about a minute or so each side, just over a minute. So again, nice, good passive stretch here, meaning we're not putting really any work into this. I do want you to keep that hip open though, so as soon as that quad, that hip starts loosening up, kind of continue to push those hips forward to deepen that stretch. We want to kind of keep that stimulus there. So while that may get loosened up, we will need to adjust the stimulus to make sure that we have a consistent level of input. So I'll take this opportunity to give a call out for our open house on Wednesday. There will be no lunchtime classes, so if you normally do full body blasts or abs or anything like that, we will not have those classes. Let's go ahead and come down, switch sides. But there is hope. We do have an Exos Performance Hour, which is a whole hour of movement and activity from 12 to 1. So join that. If you have any questions, I'll hang around after class for you to ask. Should have gotten quite a few emails about it, so hopefully it's not the first time you're hearing about it. Again, that is Wednesday, this Wednesday, tomorrow, actually. So come learn all about your benefits and get a nice workout in at lunch. We'll still be here for more mobility, but just the lunchtime classes will be affected. So we're on that other side now, driving those hips through, really opening that quad. Again, quite an imbalance side to side here. We got about 20-25 seconds left on here. So make sure we're consistently driving that hip forward, open that up nice and steady. Do note that we're not leaning back to deepen that stretch, right? We're still staying nice and tall. That upper body shouldn't have moved. We're really just working on that hip. All right. So we'll ease our way up out of that. And that's going to do it. Good morning to everyone. Hopefully you had a great mobility session ready to take on the day. Learn some chair stretches. Maybe you'll implement those throughout your day.